So we all just got woken up to some disturbing sound all through the whole.
If the end of days isn't coming way off in some distant future, but is knocking on our door right this minute, would you even notice? The world is shaking. The sky's gone dark. The ground's trembling. Strange signs from up above and down below are all roaring out at once, like anger that's been held back far too long. The Bible warned us. The sun will be darkened. The moon will give no light. The powers in the heavens will be shaken. And now it feels like time is speeding up. Strange lights ripping across the sky, tornadoes howling like trumpets, rain pouring down like a tsunami, floods swallowing up bridges and roads, the earth rumbling and boiling, whirlpools opening up deep in the waters, weird creatures coming to the surface, white objects just hanging in the woods. 10 strange events, 10 chilling pieces of the puzzle. You think it's all just coincidence? Those videos going viral, the quick news clips, the rushed explanations. This isn't some conspiracy. It's a series of warnings that God is trying to get through to us. So don't click away. Stick with me as we dive deeper and look for the real answers hidden in these 10 strange events below. We'll get started right away with 1. The flickering lights look eerie behind the dark forest. The video starts with a feeling of unease spreading. A woman stands close to her porch, her voice shaking, with a thick, endless dark forest behind her. No city lights, no traffic sounds, no signs of modern life, just heavy silence. Like nature is holding its breath for something about to happen. Then the sky behind the forest suddenly lights up. Streams of orange, white, yellow, and blue lights keep flashing, not like lightning rhythms, not like fireworks, but shooting across, cutting through the darkness like sharp slashes. The sound that comes with it isn't short blasts, but a deep humming whine that lasts, hitting you right in the chest. The panic shows as the person filming quickly backs inside the house, while the sky keeps flashing non-stop. What makes this phenomenon hard to understand is the setting. A rural area near Pensacola, Florida, right next to thick forest, miles away from homes and any industrial sites. No big power station, no nearby factories, no signs of infrastructure that could easily explain such an intense event. Similar videos pop up here and there online, capturing those strange sounds from the sky. But official explanations always trail off halfway, leaving a chilling gap. Luke 21:25 once recorded a warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. This Bible verse doesn't say what those lights are, but it points to a familiar pattern. When strange signs appear in the sky, people's sense of order starts to shake. The anguish and confusion don't come after a disaster. They show up right when no one knows what's going on. Of course, debates flare up fast. Some say it's just a technical thing, like a power plant releasing pressure, where steam glows and makes loud noise. But that argument runs into tough questions. If it's industrial, why is the area just all thick forest? Why no smoke, no chemical smell, no physical traces left after? When you watch that video again, what do you think is the right answer for this strange phenomenon? Luke 21:26 goes on, "People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world." The fear doesn't just come from the odd lights, but from the sense that something is slipping beyond our usual control and understanding. The Bible here isn't giving a final answer. It's like a quiet hint, putting us face to face with questions about what we're seeing. If the flickering lights behind the forest are just a one-off incident, it'll all fade into forgetting. But if it's only the first sign, a flash warning of a bigger storm ahead, then when the sky starts sounding like trumpet blasts, will humanity still have the calm to wonder? Or just listen in silence? 2. A strange big tornado that looked like a giant trumpet. It wasn't just a regular storm, but a shape that gave folks the chills. A huge column of wind twisting around, narrowing in the middle, flaring out at the top like a trumpet hanging in the sky. That sight made us all stop and stare, because the usual fear of bad weather suddenly turned into something deeper and harder to describe, like the sky was about to make a sound. This happened in Parkersburg, Iowa, a place that's seen some of the worst EF5 tornadoes in history. But this time, what shocked the community wasn't just the destruction, but the noise. The swirling column, hundreds of feet wide, came roaring down, ripping up houses, cars, trees, turning the air into a thick mix of dirt and water. The roar wasn't the sharp howl of strong wind, but deep, long, echoing like a sad trumpet blast, leaving many people standing still, feeling like they were hearing something beyond the ordinary. Weather experts soon explained it. Scientifically, tornadoes can sometimes take a trumpet or mushroom shape because of changes in pressure and unstable spinning airflows. In theory, that shape isn't all that rare. But what kept people uneasy was the sound. Some videos showed a rhythmic, deep, steady hum, not like the usual tearing wind. Science could explain the look, but it struggled with the noise, and that gap started to grow. Revelation 8-6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets got ready to blow them." This Bible verse isn't describing a tornado, but it brings up a familiar symbol. The trumpet as a signal to start something, a sound warning of big, unstoppable change. And when a trumpet shape shows up right in the sky, it's hard not to make the connection. Revelation 8-7 goes on, "The first angel blew his trumpet, and hail and fire mixed with blood were thrown down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up." This isn't some vague hint anymore, but a clear warning about a chain of events that follow one after another. In that story, a trumpet-shaped column doesn't stand alone. It's like the first echo of a dark melody starting to play. You could call this a rare weather event. You could see it as an extreme twist of nature. But when the shape, the sound, and the timing all come together, that old sense of safety starts to crack. We can keep believing everything's still under control, or admit there are signs going beyond easy explanations. If that trumpet blast has already sounded over the Iowa sky, like an opening signal, then what's coming next? While the air still echoes with that noise, a downpour like a flood might just be the next step in a series of warnings getting stronger. 3. Tsunami cloud dumped in seconds. In Perth, Australia. The sky over Perth changed color in just a few minutes. A heavy gray cloud hung unusually low, with no warning, thunder, or long buildup like a regular storm, then suddenly poured down a huge amount of rain. Streets that were dry turned into rushing rivers, catching many folks off guard before they even knew what hit them. When rain can come crashing down in seconds, you naturally wonder, is this just extreme weather or something more unusual? The event was clearly recorded around Perth Airport in Western Australia. Reports from MSN and ABC News said record rainfall fell in a very short time, along with strong wind gusts that ripped off roofs and brought traffic to a standstill. Weather data showed it was one of the most intense downpours ever measured in the area, with water equal to hours of normal rain coming down in minutes. Video clips showed rain falling so thick it looked like a wall of water, often called a rain bomb. The cloud dropped so low it seemed to touch the ground, blocking all visibility. Water rose a few feet in no time, flooding curbs, sweeping away trash, mud, and vehicles. For those watching the news, the usual feeling of a quick, heavy rain soon turned to real unease, because the speed and power of it went way beyond anything we'd seen before. Matthew 24:37-39 says, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. This Bible verse is often brought up to explain history, that disaster doesn't come after loud warnings, but hits when life is going on as normal. In that light, the rain in Perth reminds many of a sudden flood with no time for people to get ready. From a scientific view, weather experts call this a wet microburst, a blast of cold air dropping straight from the cloud to the ground, bringing heavy rain in a very short burst. In theory, it's a known phenomenon, but what sparks debate is how fast it formed and the damage it caused. In under 5 minutes, a large area was underwater, far beyond typical microbursts described in textbooks. The contrast between the two explanations is clear. One side is science, with terms, charts, and atmospheric models. The other is a symbolic reading, seeing repeated extreme rains around the world as reminders of how fragile our current way of life is. Both views coexist, but they don't fully ease the growing feeling of unease. If the Perth rain is just one data point in climate stats, it'll soon be replaced by the next news story. But if it's a link in a chain of events coming faster and faster, then when the water keeps rising, the next questions won't be about the sky anymore. They'll be about the bridges, roads, and structures we trust to hold up against any flood. 4. The twin bridges swept away by the flood. The footage shakes hard, with water already lapping right at the edge of the bridge. Just seconds later, the whole structure starts twisting and bending right in front of the camera. No background music, no narrator, just the roaring sound of the rushing flood. You probably wonder the same thing. If you'd been standing there, would you have spotted the danger in time? The video was shot on Route 27 inches Maine, showing a pair of bridges built to handle lower traffic in bad weather. But this time, the flood came way too fast. The muddy water surged like a living thing, slamming straight into the supports. In a blink, one long span, hundreds of feet, ripped apart and vanished into the current, forcing cars to slam on their brakes at the last moment. Reports from the Daily Bulldog and Wikipedia's list of bridge incidents say the Brackett Brook area got several times the normal rainfall in just a few hours. Local authorities had to close the road and warn folks to stay away from bridges and low spots. Damage to infrastructure is estimated in the millions of dollars, not to mention the close call with lives, if it had happened a few seconds later. Isaiah 24-19 paints a haunting picture. The earth reels to and fro like a drunkard. It shakes violently and falls, never to rise again. The Bible verse doesn't get into engineering details, but it sure captures that feeling of everything solid, suddenly breaking apart. Watching the bridges go down in the video, that shaking isn't just a figure of speech anymore. It's real, heavy, and undeniable. Some news outlets like KATV say this was just a regular flood hitting weakened foundations. Technically, that's not wrong. But what bothers a lot of people is how fast it all collapsed. With almost no warning signs beforehand, a structure designed to last decades folded up in seconds. Isaiah 24-20 goes on about that fragility, comparing the earth to a hut that sways like a hammock in the wind. In this case, the bridges aren't just concrete and steel anymore. They stand for our trust in things we've built to last. The video doesn't need any commentary. The pictures alone make you think about the limits of what we can control against nature. When the bridges broke in half and got swallowed by the water, the real message isn't in the dollar figures. It's in that helpless feeling that comes through the screen. And if a couple of bridges out in the countryside can go down that quick, just imagine the chaos on busy, icy highways up ahead, with way more traffic. How bad could it get? 5. Cars swerving and crashing all over the highway. Brake lights flashing like crazy, horns blaring through the air. In just a few seconds, the highway turned into a massive wreck. What looked like a dry road suddenly became a deadly sheet of ice. Cars lost control, spun sideways, piled up, and slid around in total chaos. The news spread fast. When the first pictures came out, a mountain highway had lost all order because of a thin layer of ice. It happened in the South Carefree area of Colorado Springs, where a sudden cold snap caused ice to form almost instantly. From posts on Reddit and videos going viral on YouTube, dozens of vehicles got caught in a chain reaction crash in just minutes. The road was shut down for miles, and rescue crews had to approach in really dangerous conditions as the ice kept spreading. The videos show sedans, SUVs, even heavy trucks losing control. Brakes didn't work at all. Tires just slid like they were being pulled. One crash led right into the next, not from speeding, but from having no control. In that moment, everyone sees how thin the line is between normal driving and disaster. And maybe we've all been on roads that seemed safe like that. Luke 21:26 comes to mind, like a chilling reminder in that scene. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. The fear in that Bible verse isn't just from big disasters, but from that feeling of no control when everyday order suddenly falls apart, just like when those cars started spinning on the ice. Weather experts from weather.com explain it's called black ice, a clear layer that's really hard to spot with the naked eye. Scientifically, the cause makes sense, but debates heat up when comparing it to other crashes, especially that 133 vehicle pileup in Texas that blew up on Reddit. That scale goes way beyond a normal accident and raises questions about weather getting more extreme. Luke 21:25 goes on about signs in the earth. When people get anxious facing nature, black ice isn't new, but the way it showed up so suddenly, thick and widespread, shutting down traffic completely, makes a lot of folks feel like it's not just an isolated incident. Some see it as climate coincidences, others as warning signs about how fragile our human inventions are that we thought were totally safe. Which view makes more sense to you? As the engines died down and the road fell into cold silence, one thing stands out clear. Just a small change from nature is enough to paralyze a whole traffic system. If the highways can turn to chaos like that, then behind every home's door, when floodwaters quietly rise, how much harsher could the next scenario get? 6. The murky water flooded the house. The glass door shattered with a dry crash, and the murky water rushed in like a living creature on the hunt, sweeping away everything in its path. The video shakes wildly, screams mix with the roaring water, and in that moment, we're no longer just watching from behind the screen. We're pulled right into the panic that's swallowing up a home people thought was safe. This happened in Orem, Utah, where quiet neighborhoods turned into flooded areas in no time. Security cameras caught the water rising several feet in just seconds, smashing basement windows, knocking over furniture, and cracking load-bearing walls. What used to be a cozy spot to wind down at the end of the day now turned into a cold trap, and you can really feel the helplessness as everything falls apart too fast to do anything about it. Local authorities kept sending out urgent warnings, their voices tight with worry, telling folks to evacuate right away and admitting the drainage systems were overwhelmed. Rescue teams could only watch from a distance as the water swirled powerfully. Getting close would have been suicide. In those short alerts, there were no comforting words, just the plain truth. People had lost control. Genesis 7:11 comes to mind as a way to make sense of it. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. The image of the springs of the great deep doesn't feel like some old story anymore. It mirrors exactly this murky water bursting up from the ground from places we thought were sealed tight with concrete and steel. Meteorologists push back, saying it's just the result of heavy rain mixed with fast-melting snow, building up pressure that broke the basement structures, a scenario that's totally explainable by science. But facing that explanation is the question about the speed and destructive power going beyond normal, the kind that makes every forecast model look too slow. Between these two ways of thinking, where do we stand? Believing it's all just random weather, or seeing a pattern repeating that's been warned about for thousands of years? The video ends with the house sunk in muddy water, only the roof sticking up in the raging flow. No more voices, just the bubbling sound of the flood. This isn't just some local mishap. It's a stark reminder that floods don't knock, they break right in. And if water's already pouring into individual homes, what kind of horror is waiting ahead when massive walls of water rise up together? 7. Strange boiling water columns in the floods in Washington. In the murky floodwaters covering the ground, strange columns of water suddenly rose up, bubbling and churning like an invisible door underground had just swung open. The scene wasn't loud right away. It was quiet and eerie, making the air feel heavy, like something awful was hiding and not yet ready to show itself. This happened in western Washington, where heavy atmospheric river rains pushed water levels up more than 15 feet in a short time, according to reports from PBS and the New York Times. Amid the rushing flood, the surface wasn't flat anymore. It kept bulging, with columns of water a few feet high shooting up from below, swirling and gurgling like the earth was breathing hard in pain. A dark feeling hung over everything, and it's hard to see this as just lifeless water. Those water columns didn't stay put, they spread out, making nearby areas flood deeper, faster, carrying mud and debris along, twisting the landscape like a bad dream. Witnesses described a slight shaking under their feet, the water making low, muffled sounds different from normal flow. And you can see why the fear came not from what they saw, but from a gut feeling that something was very wrong. Debate started right away. The Seattle Times and some geologists said it was just built-up water pressure underground, with heavy rain forcing pockets of groundwater back to the surface. The science explanation sounds reasonable, but questions came up about the scale and why it was concentrated. Why did this show up so much in one area, right during this historic flood, when it's rarely been seen before? Revelation 16:18 came up like a cold warning. There were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake, such as there had never been since man was on the earth. So great was that earthquake. Images of the ground shaking and deep rumbles from below aren't distant symbols anymore. They're happening right in the bubbling water in front of us. If science sees this as physical pressure, the Bible reads it as an accusation. The land isn't staying quiet. Nature isn't putting up with it anymore. Those water columns feel like evidence presented, charging humanity with going too far, forcing creation to speak out in the strongest way. The flood will recede eventually. The ground might settle. But the big question hangs in the damp, chilly air of Washington. If the earth has started bubbling and rising up through the water, then when the real deep whirlpools open wide, what will get pulled down with them? 8. A strange whirlpool in the flood. Night fell over the flooded street, and right in the middle of the road, a dark, swirling vortex suddenly formed, like a wide open eye deep down below. There was no open drain showing, no sign of the ground sinking, just the water twisting itself into that deadly center. That moment was enough to make us feel like the line between order and chaos was fading away. The place mentioned is Miami, Florida, where heavy rains often turn the streets into temporary rivers. In the murky water, a vortex a few feet wide stayed steady in a suspicious way, pulling in water non-stop, but the level around it hardly dropped at all. A low, rumbling gurgle came from the center of the swirl, going on for tens of minutes, giving the feeling that something down below was working away quietly, but on purpose, and it was hard to see this as just some random mishap. Experts quickly showed up with the usual explanations. Some said an alligator moving around in the drainage system could cause an odd vortex, an idea that's come up before in local Florida news and online discussions. Officials also warned folks to stay away from flooded areas because of wildlife risks. But this explanation raised a bunch of questions. Why did the vortex appear right in the middle of the road instead of near a drain? Why was there no sign of any animal? And why did it last way longer than a normal creature's movement would? Exodus 7:17 is brought in here like an old, chilling hint. This is what the Lord says, "By this you will know that I am the Lord. With the staff in my hand, I will strike the water in the river, and it will be turned to blood." In the Bible, water isn't just for life. It can become a tool for judgment. When something as familiar as water starts acting unnatural, it's often a sign that something bigger is being set in motion. The debate doesn't stop there. Outlets like West News lean towards scientific explanations, seeing the fear as just a side effect of group panic during floods. On the other hand, eyewitnesses question the growing number of repeated strange events and how the usual rules of water flow seem like they're not working the same anymore. Between these two views, which side would you take? Believing everything can be fully explained, or admitting that sometimes nature goes beyond what we currently understand? When the rain eased up, the vortex disappeared, leaving a muddy road and an uneasy quiet. No clear conclusion, just the sense that the water's surface had opened a door for a moment and then quietly closed it. If this was just a test probe, then when other doors start cracking open all at once, what will rise up from below to face the world above? 9. A strange creature rising up from the mud. Without any thunder or warning, the muddy surface suddenly cracks open, like it's being torn from the inside. A weird shape pushes its way out, long, stiff, dark-colored, like it just crawled up from some unnamed deep hole. Seeing that would really make your heart sink. If you saw it happen right in front of you, would you still feel like the earth is completely safe? This was caught on video at the mudflats near Charmouth Beach in England, and also in Fort Myers, Florida, where folks online call it the mud monster. The camera shakes a bit, the mud starts moving, and then this thing appears. It's not like a clam, and not a familiar nautilus either. Its stiff shape moves like it's on purpose, giving viewers the chills. That moment when the mud splits open for the creature to rise up brings to mind the warning in Revelation 13:1. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads. The Bible isn't just talking about a monster. It's a sign of things that have been hidden now starting to show. When the sea and the land stop keeping their secrets, that's never a good sign. Lots of videos spreading on TikTok and YouTube quickly say it's just the body of a cuttlefish or some sea animal washed into the mud. But if it's only a dead body, why does the mud crack open right at that moment? Why doesn't it just lie there, instead of rising up with clear pulsing movements? Those questions make the scientific explanations feel a little weak. Job 26:5 says, "The dead tremble, those beneath the waters and all that live in them." That Bible verse sounds like a reminder that the ocean holds more than just animals. It hides things beyond what we humans can understand. When those things stir, the fear isn't just in our heads. Some geologists say the mud movement could come from built-up gas or pressure changes. Biologists point to dead sea creatures floating up as they decay. But all those ideas avoid one key thing: the uneasy feeling it gives. Witnesses like they're facing something that shouldn't be waking up. Romans 8:22 tells us, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time." When the ground stops being quiet, when mud produces strange shapes, it might be the groan of creation before bigger changes. It's not random. It's part of a chain of signs linking together. So, this creature coming up from the mud isn't just some odd thing to watch and forget. It's like a symbol, a quiet whisper that what's been buried is starting to surface, just like the end times warnings we've heard about. And if the earth has begun birthing monsters, then those strange objects hanging in the sky that we might face next, what even scarier message will they bring? 10. A strange object floating in the sky. The final event didn't come with a bang or panic, but with a quiet feeling that's hard to put into words. Deep in the forest, a pure white object was hovering in the air. No wings, no strings holding it up, no signs of any machinery. That sight had a strange, holy feel to it, like a silent message had just been placed in our noisy world. This was spotted in the Guadalajara forest in Mexico, and also in California's Central Valley, where videos show a small white mass hanging a few feet above the treetops. No noise, no wobbling, no movement from the wind. The first feeling wasn't fear, but a sense of reverence, like standing in front of something beyond our everyday world. It didn't look like a bird or a hot air balloon. The surface was perfectly white, with a soft glow, floating calmly as if gravity didn't affect it. When you see something like that, do you ever wonder why it showed up right when the world feels most chaotic? That question creeps in and makes you slow down and think. Matthew 24-30 sounds like the final judgment of our time. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn as they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The Bible doesn't describe the exact shape, but it stresses that it will appear openly, undeniable, forcing everyone to face the truth. Some observers try to explain it scientifically, saying it's just an experimental balloon, or even labeling it DARPA technology, like Fox News and Reddit threads do. But deep in the forest, with no wind, no tether, and that almost glowing purity, where does that come from? If it's man-made, why does it give such a holy feeling that leaves viewers silent? Hebrews 9:27 reminds us, it's appointed for people to die once, and after that comes judgment. When arguments break out and opposing views clash, what's important isn't just what the object is, but what it stirs in our conscience. To you, is this just a lifeless phenomenon, or a sign that makes us look at our lives again? Many choose doubt to feel safe, but some hearts tremble, recognizing the call to repent is clearer than ever. Luke 21:11 once said, "There will be great signs from heaven, not to feed curiosity, but to warn and prepare." This white floating object isn't just a visual mystery. It's like a gentle but firm reminder that heaven has never been silent. We've just gotten used to ignoring it. This could be an angel's warning, a call to turn back before the door closes. And if an angel appears in broad daylight, how long can the world hold up when the final darkness falls? And we've just gone through 10 events full of the Lord's message. So which moment made you stop and think? Let us know your answer in the comments below. 10 signs have appeared, one after another, not scattered, not random, but lined up in a clear chain, like warning bells ringing out. From the sky, the earth, the oceans, all the way to the dark corners people thought they knew so well, everything is sending the same message at the same time. Humanity is standing very close to the edge. This isn't just a theory anymore, and it can't be called coincidence, because the number, the timing, and the nature of these strange signs have gone way beyond what anyone can ignore. When you step back and look at the whole picture, it's easy to see a cold pattern at work. Nature is angry. The normal order is turned upside down. Things long buried are coming to the surface, and the sky keeps sending unusual signals. Matthew 24:8 once warned, "All these are the beginning of birth pains." If this is only the beginning, what's waiting ahead when the final door opens? Not every sign shouts like thunder. Some whisper softly, light as a breath, but strong enough to wake the soul. Revelation 3:3 reminds us, "If you do not wake up, I will come like a thief." The danger isn't that there are no warnings. It's that people have gotten used to turning their backs on them. In the rush of daily life, the call to repent and get ready often gets pushed to the very bottom of the list. The strongest part of the message comes in a promise that mixes judgment and hope together. Revelation 22:20 says, "He who testifies to these things says, 'Yes, I am coming soon.'" Those few words are short but heavy, like a final verdict. No room for delay, no safe middle ground. Coming soon means the time left to get ready isn't as long as most people think. Now, the question isn't whether these signs are real. It's how each heart will answer them. When you connect these 10 signs together, what do you see? A scary coincidence or a loving call from heaven? If something rises up in your heart, a prayer, a thought you've never said out loud, feel free to share it in the comments below as a mark of faith in this critical time. To make sure you don't miss any future messages, please like, share, and subscribe to not to feed fear, but to stay awake and prepare together. Every interaction helps spread the warning to those still sleeping while the storm is building. Finally, Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who listened all the way to the end. May the Lord keep you and your family in peace, give you clear eyes to recognize the time we're living in, and give you strong faith to stand firm when trials come. Amen.
The storm continues to head east, and it's hammering Ontario and Quebec with snow.
We're going to be doing these updates every half hour.
Holy shit!
What would happen if Christmas wasn't about lights and carols anymore, but howling winds like a judgment call? If right on the holiest night of the year, nature suddenly got mad, swallowing people up in ice, snow, and darkness, would you dare believe it's just chance? Or is it a warning that's been sent, cold and unrelenting? Early morning on the 24th of December 2025, while California was still wrapped in holiday cheer, a bomb cyclone from the Pacific suddenly slams into Sierra Nevada. Snow dumps 2-3 feet thick. Winds howl at 70 miles per hour, blanking everything out in a whiteout that drops visibility to zero. Just hours later, Donner Pass, that pass with its bloody history, turns into an icy hell. Over 10 cars pile up on I-80 near Truckee. Traffic backs up for miles and gets stuck, Christmas frozen amid wailing sirens and fear. The accidents don't stop. Up on Echo Summit, cars spin out in the snow. CHP keeps getting crash reports. Power cuts out. Thousands of homes plunge into darkness. Everything hits fast and furious, like time's getting squeezed in the storm. Can you feel the heartbeat of the chaos? Can you hear what the wind's whispering? The Bible once said, "But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pains, when the sun goes dark and order crumbles." Is this just El Niño, like science says? Or a scary repeat of what happened at Donner in 1846? If God's using storms to wake us up, the scarier question is this really just the start? And if so, where's the next nightmare waiting for us, right after this howling wind? Let's join me in digging deep to uncover the real truth about what these chains of events truly mean. Chaos at Donner Pass, the mark of a natural disaster. Something nobody could have imagined happened right on Christmas night. Donner Pass gave way. No warning sirens, no big explosion, just snow and ice pouring down like a cold wall, winds howling and ripping through the I-80 freeway, and cars slowly vanishing into that deadly white. While the rest of us were thinking about Christmas lights and family get-togethers up on the Sierra Nevada peaks, time seemed to freeze, traffic ground to a halt, and one of California's main arteries shut down in just a few short hours. That Christmas didn't start with carols, it started with pure chaos. It all kicked off fast, almost without a moment to catch your breath. At exactly 12:18 p.m. on December 24, 2025, Caltrans had to order all westbound traffic to turn around at the Truckee and Donner Lake interchange after a bunch of uncontrolled spinouts. You can picture hundreds of drivers stuck there, snow keeping on, falling thick, and the wind starting to roar like an open door. By late afternoon, things had turned into total mayhem. A pileup involving more than 10 vehicles happened on Donner Summit near Castle Peak in whiteout conditions where visibility dropped to zero. Winds hit 70 miles per hour, felt like temperatures down to minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and many drivers were trapped in their cars for hours, unable to move forward or back. ABC 10 reported injuries, while photos from the scene showed vehicles buried under more than 2 feet of snow, looking like they were frozen in time. The backups weren't just one way. According to SF Gate, both eastbound and westbound lanes of I-80 were held up at different times, turning Donner Pass into a complete bottleneck right during peak holiday travel. Over on Echo Summit, Highway 50 wasn't much better, with dozens of spinouts reported by CHP, leading to local power outages that affected thousands of homes in the mountains. Christmas, in an instant, turned into a string of emergency sirens, flashing lights and feeling helpless against nature. Isaiah 13:13 puts it plain, before the full prophecy, "Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger." Put those words next to what's happening at Donner Pass, and a lot of folks can't help but shiver at how the old description matches this icy reality swallowing the pass. Weather experts jumped in quick to explain the causes. Based on data from USA Today and weather agencies, this blizzard was triggered by a bomb cyclone forming over the Pacific, pulling in heavy moisture and shoving cold air across the Sierra Nevada. El Niño was mentioned as a factor boosting the snowfall and wind strength, while the steep, high terrain of Donner Pass amplified everything fast. From a scientific view, it's an extreme weather event, but one we can understand. Heavy snow, strong winds, and heavy holiday traffic made the perfect setup for chain reaction crashes. Experts point out these kinds of things are happening more often with global climate change, as weather systems get more unpredictable and intense. But as those explanations come out, plenty of people think back to the history of Donner Pass itself. In 1846, a group of pioneers got trapped there in a long blizzard, leading to the worst survival tragedy in American westward migration. Over a century later, same spot, same snow and ice, same isolation, and once again, people powerless against nature. For many, that repeat isn't just coincidence. Psalm 107:25 says it differently, but just as haunting. "For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea." This Bible verse isn't about one particular storm, but it raises a question that makes folks wonder. Are there times when nature isn't just reacting, but allowed to wake people up? Debate sprang up quick because of that. One side says everything at Donner Pass is purely physics and climate patterns, no need to attach any supernatural meaning. The other side looks at the history, the sacred Christmas timing, the level of destruction, and sees these as warning signs beyond a regular storm. Both views sit side by side, not easy to blend. Revelation 16:21 describes, before the full part, "And great hailstones, about 100 pounds each, came down from heaven on people, though it's snow, not hail." The image of huge chunks of ice dumping down, burying vehicles and paralyzing a wide area, makes many think of that biblical judgment language. Here, the question isn't right or wrong, but how each person chooses to see what they're witnessing. So what was Donner Pass on Christmas night 2025? A traffic disaster from extreme weather? Or a symbolic sign, repeating right where a historic tragedy happened? When science and faith both look at the same event, each has its own reasons, and it's up to us to put ourselves in it and think it over. One thing's for sure, Donner Pass sent a signal nobody can ignore. A major route locked down, vehicles stuck motionless in the snow, and Christmas interrupted by chaos. But if this storm isn't alone, if it's just the start of a bigger chain of events moving from west to east, then the next question is really worrying. What's waiting ahead? Now that Donner Pass has spoken up first? Global storm chain, from west to east. If Donner Pass was the first big hit, the scary part is this: it wasn't alone. Just a few days after Christmas, extreme weather started spreading beyond California, like a door had been opened and there was no way to shut it. From west to east, from the Pacific coast to the Great Lakes area, one storm after another showed up with the same cold rhythm, all at once and hard to explain. On December 28, 2025, Michigan took the next big blow. Another bomb cyclone formed and let loose winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, with snow from 1 to 3 inches in the south, up to nearly a foot in the Upper Peninsula. According to MLive and NPR, more than 100,000 homes lost power in just a few hours. Many roads had zero visibility, and accidents piled up as folks couldn't adjust fast enough to the quick weather change. Almost at the same time, Buffalo, New York, got hit with a different, but just as bad scenario. On December 29, an ice storm rolled through upstate, knocking out power to more than 57,000 customers as ice built up thick on trees and power lines. National Grid said they had to restore service to over 70,800 out of 112,300 affected cases, per the New York Times and WIVB. The whole city was covered in a clear layer of ice, pretty to look at, but deadly dangerous. Up north, southeast Canada couldn't escape this mess either. According to Severe Weather ETA, a blast of Arctic air dropped temperatures 30 to 40 degrees below average, setting up blizzard conditions from the Great Lakes all the way to Quebec. Strong winds, heavy snow, poor visibility, and tons of flight and cross-border travel disruptions showed this wasn't just a local thing anymore. Minnesota and Wisconsin added more cold pieces to the picture. The Twin Cities got 5 to 7 inches of snow on December 28, while western Wisconsin saw up to 12 inches, with winds at 35 to 40 miles per hour, according to Fox 9 and CBS. Roads got slippery, accidents shot up, schools closed, and everyday life got squeezed by the ice and snow. The storm chain didn't stop there. New England, from Vermont to Maine, dealt with freezing rain on December 29, building thick ice on roads and power lines. ABC News reported widespread traffic problems from Burlington, Vermont to Portland, Maine, as Maine roads became too dangerous to drive safely. Looking back at the whole thing, it's hard not to wonder, why did it all happen so close together, one after another, in a clear line from west to east? When you watch the weather map, those red and blue spots keep lighting up, like a non-stop chain of signals, making you realize you're looking at something bigger than just separate storms. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." For many folks, those words don't feel abstract anymore when you see millions without power, traffic at a standstill, and that helpless feeling spreading across the northern continents. From a Bible viewpoint, this storm chain isn't just weather, it's a warning language. Ezekiel 38-22 says, before the full quote, "I will punish it with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, fire, and burning sulfur on it." Here, hail, howling winds, and freezing ice show up like repeating signs, giving the sense that a big order is getting shaken on a wide scale. But meteorologists give another explanation, based on data and science models. AccuWeather and other weather agencies say this comes from a shifted polar vortex, combined with an oddly bent jet stream, letting Arctic air pour far south. In this view, the timing is just the result of a big atmospheric system getting out of balance. The two explanations sit side by side. One sees a guiding hand, the other sees complex physical reactions. The Bible calls it signs, science calls it patterns. And between those two names, where do we stand? When millions are hit at once, is this just climate coincidence, or a message repeated loud enough that we can't ignore it? Amos 4-7 gives another picture. "I also withheld rain from you when there were still 3 months until harvest." That's not just about rain or drought. It's the idea that nature can become a reminder tool when people drift too far from staying alert. Put that next to this storm chain from California to Canada, and many feel a thoughtful connection. From a neutral angle, you can't deny that science gives detailed, reasonable explanations for each separate event. But it's also hard to deny that the size, speed, and timing of this storm chain create an uneasy feeling beyond regular weather reports. That overlap is what keeps the debate going strong on TV and social media. So the question isn't really who's right or wrong, but which way of seeing it helps us guide ourselves. When one side talks about the atmosphere and the other about sacred warnings, what convinces you more about what's happening around us? This west to east storm chain drew a cold, straight line across the North American map. It shows Donner Pass wasn't an exception. It might have been the starting point. And if those Bible prophecies about spreading, timing, and human confusion have truth to them, then the next question gets heavier than ever. Is this the whole story? Or is there a deeper warning still waiting to show itself as the darkness keeps moving forward? Biblical prophecies, natural disasters as warnings. After everything that's happened lately, the thing that probably makes us wonder most isn't how strong the storms were, but why they're coming one after another like this. Starting from Donner Pass, that chain of snowstorms spread across the whole country, and what seemed like separate events are now connecting into some kind of pattern. In those quiet moments, amid all the chaos, have you ever stopped to think, is this just the weather? Or is something gently trying to get our attention? Looking at the big picture, these recent events don't stand alone anymore. The blizzards didn't just shut down highways, paralyze cities, or wipe out Christmas. They formed a repeating rhythm, showing up suddenly, hitting hard, then leaving behind emptiness and confusion. History has seen similar times, like the Great Blizzard back in 1888 in America, when thousands died and the young nation really struggled. When you put 2025 next to those old memories, that scary familiar feeling starts to show up. Weather data shows the Midwest got snow up to nearly 2 feet deep along the Great Lakes shores, with wind gusts at 50 miles per hour, over 200,000 homes without power, and traffic shut down across wide areas. New England kept dealing with freezing rain, airports closed, thousands of flights canceled, and the holidays turned into long waits in the cold. Those numbers, read one by one, are just statistics, but put together, they're like drum beats signaling something bigger moving in. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 8, the Bible described those kinds of upheavals with a strange picture. All these are the beginning of birth pains. It's not an immediate end, not instant destruction, but a process. Birth pains don't come to kill. They signal a change, the arrival of a new era after intense contractions. That image makes natural disasters feel less like random tragedies and more like milestones. Snow covering cities in white, winds howling through the night, power going out everywhere. It all acts like a curtain, temporarily blocking the usual light of human life. In those hours of zero visibility, when the sun gets swallowed by the snow, people have to stop and face their own fragility. Matthew 24, verse 29, goes on to paint a bigger scene. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Those words don't sound like a weather report. They're like an ancient whisper, reminding us that the world's familiar order could get turned upside down any time. When snow and freezing rain paralyze a huge area, when gray skies drag on for days, that sun-darkened feeling isn't just symbolic anymore. It becomes something we all experience, where light isn't taken for granted and we're forced to confront our limits. Joel chapter 2, verse 30 adds another layer. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. In a mystical way of reading it, winds whipping up blinding snow, blizzards swirling like giant white columns, the biting cold air. It all creates a sense of a world being stirred from its foundations. Not every image has to be literal, but the unease they bring feels very real. Here, the Bible doesn't come across as quick judgment. It's more like a slow unfolding indictment. Those ancient pages don't shout or threaten. They quietly raise questions about people's relationship with the divine order they're living in. From this view, disasters aren't just punishment. They're reminders that the world doesn't run completely on human terms. Of course, not everyone sees these events through faith. Many scientists and meteorologists say it's all the result of climate shifts, the polar vortex, misplaced jet streams, and global warming. To them, the 2025 snowstorms, tough as they were, fit into patterns explainable by modern science. No need for anything supernatural. That view has solid ground, and it helps us understand nature's workings better. Science gives forecasts, early warnings, and tools to cut down on damage. But the real question isn't whether science or the Bible is right. It's whether those two explanations have to cancel each other out. Science answers what's happening and how it works. The Bible, in many places, asks why should this make people wake up? One side covers mechanics, the other, meaning. Seeing this string of disasters as a mirror, maybe the key isn't picking sides, but asking, what can we learn from it for ourselves? Revelation chapter 8 verse 5 describes a shaking scene. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. That image isn't just about destruction, it's about intervention. The moment human order gets jolted so people look higher than themselves. In today's world, these snowstorms might not be fire from heaven, but they're strong enough to shake our false sense of security. They remind us that no matter how far technology goes, we're still small against forces beyond control. And in that smallness, questions about faith and humility become clearer than ever. It opens up space for reflection, putting natural events side by side with ancient prophecies, letting each person find their own answers. For you, are these storms just weather cycles, or a gentle but persistent nudge that the world is entering a time of change? And if what's written in the Bible isn't meant to scare, but to awaken, what happens next if people keep ignoring those signs? Maybe behind these snowstorms, a deeper warning is still waiting to be heard, and the door to the next part is slowly opening. A deeper meaning, from chaos to awakening. When the last storms finally die down, what's left isn't just melting snow or roads opening up again, but a different kind of quiet in people's hearts. That's the moment when the usual noises of the world slow down, and folks start listening more to voices they've long ignored. In that stillness, the chaos doesn't shout anymore. It turns into a soft whisper, gentle but persistent, coming from deep inside. From California to Canada, during days of blackouts and cut-off roads, social media was full of stories that were hard to explain. Some folks said they saw shapes like angels in the thick snow. Others talked about a strange feeling of being protected when everything around them was falling apart. Even though each story was personal, they all shared one thing: a sense that people were facing something bigger than everyday life. According to reports, more than 51 million people were hit by power outages, traffic shutdowns, and disruptions to daily routines. But alongside the damage, many communities saw things rare in modern life. Neighbors opening their doors to give shelter, strangers sharing food, and volunteer rescue groups popping up in the cold. Minnesota, where snow piled up 8 to 12 inches deep, didn't just record losses, it also saw communities wake up as people realized they needed each other more than ever. Those scenes bring to mind an old story, far back in time, but one that still carries real weight. Before the world was once swept away by water, the Bible says mankind lived in indifference, busy with their own lives, paying no attention to repeated warnings. Noah's time didn't end suddenly with the flood. It was foretold with long patience, with calls that went unheard. Genesis tells how Noah's ark was built over many years, amid skeptical looks and mocking. The rain didn't come right away. The waters didn't rise instantly. Everything happened slowly, as if to give people plenty of time to think it over. That slowness is what was really frightening, because it put the choice in each person's hands instead of forcing them with immediate terror. In 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, the Bible explains that delay in a way different from the usual picture of judgment. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. These words aren't about punishment. They're about patience, about the time given so people can change on their own. When you put this explanation next to today's string of natural disasters, the picture gets clearer. These snowstorms aren't wiping out humanity or drowning the world overnight. They come wave by wave, region by region, enough to shake things up, but not enough to end it all. Just like in Noah's day, The world now is living in a kind of before the rain period, where everything keeps going, but nothing's quite the same as before. Romans chapter 8, verse 22, expands on that feeling with a very human image. We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. Nature, in this view, isn't just the background. It's something groaning, reacting to deep imbalance. The howling wind, falling snow, spreading ice, all like sighs from creation, not meant to destroy, but to wake us up. Those visions people shared during the snowstorms, whatever you make of them, reflect an inner need, the need to find meaning in the middle of chaos. Some psychologists say they're just hallucinations from prolonged stress and cold, a natural brain response in harsh conditions. That makes scientific sense, and it explains things on a personal level. But what many can't brush off is how widespread and simultaneous that awakening feeling was. Not just one place, not just one group, but across all the affected areas. Similar stories showed up, like pieces of a mirror reflecting the same question. What really matters when the familiar things are stripped away? The comparison to Noah's time isn't about water or snow. It's about how people respond. When the ark was being built, no one was forced to board. The door stayed open for a long while. The story doesn't end with lack of information, but with choice. And it's that choice that decided fates, not the flood itself. Psalm 46, verse 10, wraps up these thoughts with a quiet invitation. Be still and know that I am God, not fleeing, not panicking, not arguing right and wrong, just stopping. In a world used to speed, stillness becomes the most radical act because it opens space to hear something deeper than stats and headlines. This isn't meant to claim humanity is facing a new flood or that every disaster is direct judgment. It just recalls a familiar Bible pattern. Before every big turning point, there's always a warning phase, a time to reflect and turn back. In Noah's day, there was the ark. In our time, maybe the ark isn't made of wood, but built from awareness, humility, and inner repentance. Hope, then, doesn't lie in disasters stopping right away, but in people's ability to change how they live before it's too late. If these storms are just whispers, then the scary part isn't the wind, it's the silence of those who refuse to listen. Maybe this is the story's final stop, where there's no more howling wind or falling snow, just the heavy silence of choice. Like the ark's door in Noah's time, open in patience, the world today seems to stand at a similar moment. Not closed yet, but not waiting forever. If what's happened is just the first wake-up call, then the question isn't what's coming next. It's who we'll become when the time of grace ends. Because before the real rain pours down, people are always given one last chance to awaken. When we look back at everything that's happened, from Donner Pass buried under that Christmas blizzard, to the chain of chaos spreading across North America, we no longer see these as separate events. They fit together like pieces of a puzzle, forming a bigger picture where nature shakes things up and forces us to stop and face how fragile we really are. This isn't just a story about the weather, it's a story about our times. In that picture, the Bible doesn't feel like some old book from long ago. It feels like a mirror showing us what's happening right now. Matthew 24 talks about birth pains, not to scare us, but to remind us that big changes always come with warning signs beforehand. These storms, power outages, disruptions, and panic today echo those old warnings, like a steady drumbeat urging people to wake up. When we put these events alongside the Bible's bigger story, from the days of Noah to the prophecies about the last days, we see one thing that never changes. God always warns before he acts. Genesis tells about the ark being built while everyone else ignored it, and 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 says the Lord is patient, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. So this time we're in isn't punishment, it's grace. That's why the final message isn't about panic, it's about waking up. Waking up to see that these signs around us aren't random. Waking up to look at how we're living, how we're loving, and how we're treating each other. This is the time to pray more, to repent more honestly, and to let faith guide our everyday choices. When each of us changes from the inside, that little light can spread to those around us. If what you've just heard has touched your heart or made you feel heavy inside, let that feeling turn into a prayer. You can leave one down below, a prayer, a thought, or just a quiet word from your heart. Those words aren't just comments. They're signs of awakening, where we lift each other up and help each other stay on the right path. If you feel this message needs to reach more people, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of God's warnings in the videos to come. Every share might be the way you reach a soul that needs waking up at just the right moment. Finally, thank you for taking the time to listen all the way to the end. May God keep you and your family safe, give you peace in these unsettled days, and light the path ahead so we don't walk blindly. May His grace, protection, and love be with you always. Amen.
Jesus Christ! That is huge! That is... Oh my God! Look at this rod!
Идет куда-то. Ёбана рот. А.
Владя просто трындец. Куда вот это поехали? Твою мать, что за...
Have you ever wondered, if the world suddenly changed colors tomorrow, would that just be random chance? When the ground shakes, the sky tears open, oceans roar, and fire rises from deep in the earth, people start feeling an unease that's hard to put into words, like time is closing in and the future is slipping into chaos. What we're seeing these days isn't just scattered events anymore. It's a string of big changes hitting one after another, getting stronger each time, making the world feel like it's right on the edge of falling apart. From a blood-red whirlwind ripping through the desert, huge ice breaking off in Antarctica, strange lines splitting the sky, old lava coming back to life, Yellowstone acting up, oceans throwing up tall waterspouts, green auroras lighting up Texas, bright glowing balls hanging low near the ground, fire swallowing rivers, and clouds twisting like cocoons in the sky. 10 events, 10 whispers from above, all happening at once, loud and unrelenting. The Bible warned long ago, before the Lord returns, heaven and earth will shake. And now, those signs seem clearer than ever. What do you think when you look at all this? Is it just nature's cruel joke, or the last wake-up call for folks who've been sleeping through it? Come on, stop for a minute and join me as we dig into the real story behind these shocking things happening lately. You'll see the truth once the curtain gets pulled back. No more waiting, I'll get started right now with 1. A strange red whirlwind appears in the red desert. If there's one moment that can make your stomach drop just from watching a screen, it's the second that red swirl shows up. In the video shot out in the wide open desert, a huge column of dark red, almost blood-like color, suddenly shoots straight up into the sky, ripping through the quiet of the Arizona desert. No narration needed. The pictures alone leave you stunned, because it's clear right away, something feels off, and we're watching something way out of the ordinary. The Arizona desert is known for its red dirt stretching thousands of square miles, where weather experts have seen dust whirls before because of the rocky ground and harsh heat. But in this video, it's no little puff of dust. It rises hundreds of feet high, spinning wildly, sucking up all the red dirt below and turning the clear blue sky into a gloomy red haze. Facing a sight like that, it's not just scary, it's this heavy, unseen pressure, like nature is clamping down on everything underneath. The whirlwind moves slow but with real power, winds hitting around 50 miles per hour, strong enough to toss sand and rocks around and send wild animals running in panic. From the video, you really feel how helpless people are against that kind of force, something deep and instinctive. It doesn't look like a regular storm, more like a giant hand stirring up the earth, painting the whole area red, leaving you thinking the desert isn't dead anymore. It's waking up in a threatening way. Scientists were quick to explain. It's just a dust devil, the kind of dust whirl common in deserts when hot air rises fast. The red color comes from iron-rich soil getting pulled up high, mixing with sunlight to create that scary visual effect. It sounds reasonable, and scientifically, it's correct. But looking at the actual footage, a lot of folks still get chills from how big and unusual it looks, making it feel more like a warning sign than a simple weather event. In the Bible, Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven, and big earthquakes, famines, and plagues in many places." Seeing this blood-red whirlwind, it's hard not to think of those great signs from heaven mentioned as warnings. Revelation 6:12 describes a chilling scene too. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. The red covering the desert sky in the video seems to echo that image, not as judgment, but as a cold reminder. Science might still call it a dust devil, but the feeling it leaves isn't ordinary at all. It's like an early signal, a haunting little touch, reminding us that nature is shifting its familiar rhythm. And if this red whirlwind in Arizona is just the start, then farther away, in colder places where massive ice sheets are quietly moving under Antarctica, what's really waiting for humanity ahead? 2. A massive chunk of ice suddenly pops up to the surface. News from the far end of the Earth just shared a picture that left scientists and everyone else stunned. A sharp crack rang out like thunder under the ocean, and right after that, a huge block of ice shot up out of the water, standing tall like a skyscraper and shaking the whole Antarctic Sea around it. It wasn't a storm or an earthquake, it was ice, the quietest thing you can imagine, creating a moment so intense it took your breath away. This happened at the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica, an area bigger than 74,000 square miles that's called the Doomsday Glacier. For years, scientists have been watching it closely because of how fast it's melting. But what the camera caught this time was beyond anything they expected. The ice broke off and then flipped up out of the water, hundreds of feet high and weighing millions of tons, sending big waves across the sea and shocks that felt like an underwater explosion. The sound was described like a bomb going off, echoing through the white emptiness. Research ships nearby rocked back and forth, and the water churned with huge waves from the ice block. In that moment, watching the video, you're not just seeing a natural event, you're feeling the real weight of the Earth as it shifts, slow but unstoppable. Scientists quickly gave a straightforward explanation. This is calving, where ice breaks away from the glacier because of rising global temperatures. National Geographic and other research groups say warmer ocean water has weakened the ice structure from below, making big collapses like this unavoidable. The numbers, data, and climate models all back this up, turning the event into big news about climate change rather than something mysterious. But when you put that image next to words written thousands of years ago, it feels different. Matthew 24:7 warned, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places." These powerful changes in nature, from land to ocean, seem to be happening all at once. Joel 2:30 also says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke," like a warning about the familiar order turning upside down. Debate broke out fast. One side sees it as the clear result of human-caused climate change. The other senses something bigger and deeper going on behind that cold ice. What do you think? When the planet's biggest ice blocks can't stay put anymore, should we see this as a scientific wake-up call or a warning that goes beyond the numbers? No matter how you look at it, the truth is, Thwaites is changing, and with it, sea levels, the climate, and the future for millions of people. That ice popping up is like a strong knock on the door, waking the world from its complacency. And if melting ice is just the first whisper from the frozen poles, then when we look up at the sky, is that strange streak about to appear the blade cutting through humanity's fate? 3. a strange line splitting the sky. The photo spread like wildfire, the Texas sky suddenly sliced by a straight, cold, sharp line that was almost too perfect to believe. No explosion, no shaking, just a streak stretching for miles, hanging in the air like a cut from an invisible knife. Your eyes get locked on it, but your mind lags behind, because nobody's sure what they're seeing, and even less where it came from. In the video, the light stays calm. Clouds drift along, wind blows gently, but that dividing line stays oddly still. A peaceful sky with blue backdrop, white clouds, golden sunshine, suddenly has this weird boundary crashing into the usual order. The unease doesn't come from anything wild. It's from how precise and chilling it is, like someone just drew a line right across the open space. When the footage is slowed down, the quiet becomes the scariest part. No swirling, no breaking, no fading. That straight line hangs there like a mark put there on purpose, not some random thing. That's the moment a lot of folks start thinking back to old warnings written down long ago. Luke 21:25 put it this way: "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity, not from nature roaring loud, but from the familiar order suddenly getting marked." On a deeper level, Revelation 8:12 gets brought up again as a chilling explanation. A third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. It doesn't take total darkness, just one clear boundary showing up, to make people realize the light isn't as whole as it used to be. Weather experts later offered a different take. To them, this could be a kind of horizontal bright arc, formed when sunlight bends through ice crystals in high clouds. A rare thing, but still within what atmospheric science can explain. Their reports talk about exact temperature, humidity, and sunlight angles needed to create such a near-perfect bright line. Two explanations sit side by side. One, cold and scientific with physics formulas. The other, haunting with prophetic words. One talks about ice crystals and light bending. The other about signs and warnings from above. The video's still there, plain and unchanged. And that simple existence forces each person to decide what it means to them. If one line drawn across the sky is enough to shake up what feels normal, then what happens when the ground itself stops staying quiet? When lava rises from places thought long asleep, how much time do people have left to turn things around? 4. The lava has stopped solidifying and is now melting into a flow. It's no longer just a guess, no longer some vague sign. The stream of fire that folks thought had gone cold has suddenly come back to life, glowing red and moving along, like the earth just woke up after a long sleep. The videos from Hawaii leave people stunned, because what's pouring out isn't just molten rock. It's a warning we can't ignore, and we're all standing way too close to it. At Kilauea, one of the most active volcanoes on the planet, rock that seemed solid has suddenly softened, cracked open, and started flowing for miles. Temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit make the ground split, rocks warp, and the air thick with smoke and heat. That red glow doesn't stay put. It moves forward bit by bit, swallowing up plants, getting close to homes, making it feel like nothing can move fast enough to get away. Geologists quickly sent out emergency alerts. Data from monitoring stations showed pressure building unusually in the magma chamber, cracks widening faster than expected. Local authorities had to start evacuation plans, close the national park, and tell people to leave the danger zone as soon as possible. Maps covered in red warnings filled the screens, and now nobody dares call it some far-off scenario. In that heavy atmosphere, the Bible rings out like a big bell, louder than any news report. Joel 2:30 once warned, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." Fire doesn't just show up to destroy, it's there to wake us up, to make us face the results of being stubborn for so long. It doesn't stop there. Revelation 16:18 adds to the unease. There were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as there had not been since man came to be upon the earth. So great was that earthquake. When fire rises from deep in the ground, it's not just normal earth movement anymore. It's a shakeup of the world we're used to. Of course, there are still voices pushing back. Some experts say this is just a natural cycle of magma activity, the inevitable result of Hawaii's geology. But the question is, why is it happening more often, getting stronger, and affecting a wider area? When science gives numbers and the Bible gives meaning, where will you put your trust? This fire isn't just burning rock, it's testing how awake we are as people. If this is just one hotspot, what will happen when other supervolcanoes start stirring? And if Yellowstone really wakes up, would that be the trumpet sound signaling the end that the Bible talked about thousands of years ago? 5. Yellowstone Park suddenly blew up out of the ground. A big boom echoed through an area that had always seemed steady, and in just a few seconds, the familiar calm of Yellowstone was ripped apart. The ground swelled up and then burst open, sending steam, mud, and rocks shooting straight into the sky like a bomb going off deep underground. It was no longer just a peaceful tourist spot. This place turned into the center of raw fear, and we all know this isn't something to brush off lightly. At Biscuit Basin, the hydrothermal area famous for its hot springs, pressure had been building quietly for a long time until it finally broke through. A huge column shot up hundreds of feet, dragging along broken earth, boiling water, and thick, hot steam. Visitors panicked and ran for safety. Boardwalks were shut down fast, and many parts were completely destroyed in an instant. Early reports showed the damage spread dozens of yards, enough to turn a popular viewpoint into a high-danger zone. Scientists jumped in right away. Reports from the U.S. National Park Service say it came from water suddenly turning to steam when underground water got heated fast and expanded in a flash. With no way out, the pressure took the most violent path to release. This kind of hydrothermal explosion is rare, but it's happened before in Yellowstone's history. Still, even the most experienced experts admit the power this time was way beyond normal. Amid all the dry scientific explanations, the Bible comes across like a strong warning to everyone. Matthew 24:7 put it plainly long ago, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places." When the earth shakes and bursts open on its own, it's not just rocks shifting. It's a reminder that the world is drifting from its original order. Luke 21:11 digs even deeper into that unease. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places, famines and pestilences. And there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. It doesn't take the whole planet collapsing in one day. Just these hot spots speaking up one by one to make the bigger picture clear. Of course, there's debate. Some folks say it's just a natural reaction in a complicated hydrothermal system, and we shouldn't tie it to anything spiritual. But plenty of others wonder, why are explosions like this happening more often, getting stronger, right when the world already feels so fragile? Between science and faith, where do you stand? The ground just spoke up, and the message wasn't gentle at all. If this was only a wake-up jolt, what happens when the oceans start swirling and rising? Those waterspouts at sea, the kind that look like a rope linking heaven and hell, maybe they're waiting right ahead. 6. A strange, thin, twisting funnel over the sea. The ocean off St. Lucia wasn't roaring. The waves rose and fell gently. The wind wasn't fierce, and the sky just darkened like it was holding its breath. Right in that unusual calm, a long, slender thread appeared, hanging between the sea and the clouds, pale like faded gold. It didn't spin wildly or rush anywhere. It just stayed there, making you feel like you were seeing something that shouldn't be real. In the video, that twisting line stretched thousands of feet, so thin it seemed like it could vanish if light touched it. Dark clouds gathered above, and the water below rippled faintly in a vague circle, as if some invisible hand was holding both ends tight. What was scary wasn't the power, but how still it stayed for so long, a state completely against the usual ways of the sea and sky. We all sensed that wrongness right from the first moment. The colors weren't bold, but strange enough to unsettle you. Not gray, not black, not blue, but a pale yellow mixed with ash, giving the whole scene an unreal feel. As time passed in the video, that twisting line didn't change shape or break. It was like wind or gravity had no effect on it. That quiet stillness gave people chills more than any storm ever could. When you put that image next to the words in Luke 21:25, the meaning opens up in a different way. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. It doesn't take a raging ocean, just the normal order bending a little to stir up unease in people's hearts. Another part in Joel 2:30 sounds like a quiet hint more than a threat. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. To many folks, that hanging twist in the air looked just like a pillar set up, not to destroy, but to mark something. Of course, weather experts see it differently. They call it a type of waterspout that forms in steady conditions, a rare structure, but still within science. Still, what sparks debate is how long it lasted and how almost perfectly still it was, something many experts admit is hard to fully explain. So, between a science-based answer and the feeling that some message is being sent, which side do you lean toward? The sea doesn't speak our language, but it knows how to get noticed. If one quiet, slender thread can shake up the familiar order, what might happen if the sky over the land suddenly lights up with a glow that doesn't belong there? Green auroras showing up in Texas might not feel so far off anymore. 7. The strange green aurora sky over Texas. The night sky in Texas suddenly looked different, in a way that's hard to describe. No thunder, no storm, just a thin layer of greenish light like a mist spreading over the darkness. Quiet, but captivating. In the videos going around, that green color didn't flash quickly. It moved slowly and softly, making you feel like you were standing in front of an invisible door that just cracked open. As the night got deeper, the light started shifting into wavy bands, sometimes stronger, sometimes fainter, mixed with faint magenta shades. It wasn't bright like fireworks, but had a mysterious feel, like light that didn't belong here. Houses, fields, and roads were covered in a green glow never seen before at low latitudes like Texas. And in that moment, it was hard to believe this was just the ordinary sky we'd always known. On a deeper level, many folks turn to the Bible as a way to make sense of it. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven and major earthquakes, along with famines and plagues in many places." Light isn't just for shining, it's for signaling, for waking people up when everything seems calm. Revelation 8:12 adds another layer, heavier and more serious. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. When light shows up where it doesn't belong, many believe it's not a gift of peace, but a sign that a big change is coming soon. From the science side, experts aren't staying quiet. They explain these glowing bands likely come from a strong geomagnetic storm, where charged particles hit the atmosphere and make it glow. In rare cases, the northern lights can reach down to lower latitudes than usual. Satellite data and magnetic field charts back this up. It's an event we can measure and predict. The two views sit side by side, one with numbers, models, and sun cycles, the other with ancient words about strange signs in the sky. One answers how, the other asks why. Standing between them, what feels more convincing to you? A natural coincidence, or a message sent right when people need to wake up? That green light didn't hurt anyone, but it stirred up faith in its own way. For many, it's a reminder that heaven isn't silent, that even in the dark, there are signs meant to make us look up and think. And if the sky has spoken in colors, what happens when the ground starts answering with shapes, not from this world. Those glowing orbs showing up near train tracks might just be waiting their turn to be explained. 8. A strange glowing orb hovering close to the ground near train tracks. In broad daylight, when sunlight should make everything feel safe and normal, something shows up that just shouldn't be there, clear as day and kind of scary. A gray sky hangs over an empty stretch of railroad tracks, no sun, no sharp shadows, and right in that gloomy scene, a glowing orb floats just above the ground. The video of it keeps you glued to the screen, because daylight doesn't let you mistake it for tricks of the dark, and we all know this thing can't be brushed off as some illusion. The orb has a pale blue glow with a white edge, about the size of a basketball, hanging only a foot or so off the ground. It doesn't drop or bump into anything. It drifts slowly along the tracks, sometimes pausing like it's looking around. Thin sparks flash out and vanish quick, enough to make the air hum a little. No rain, no thunder, no lightning rod nearby, but that light stays there, steady and like it means business, making you feel uneasy right away. The video goes on to show movements that are hard to explain. The glowing thing doesn't follow the wind or react to the land. It suddenly changes direction, gets close to the metal rails, then pulls back, as if drawn by some invisible force. A lot of folks point out a chilling detail. This spot has seen terrible train accidents before, and ever since, strange lights showing up has been a topic people can't stop talking about. When you put this next to the words in Revelation 16:18, the tone gets heavy, like a serious warning. There will be flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as has not occurred since people have been on earth. So mighty an earthquake was it. The light with those sparks isn't just some physical thing. It's like a reminder that judgment doesn't always come with sudden collapse. Luke 21:11 adds more weight to what we're used to thinking. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. A great sign doesn't have to cover the whole sky. Sometimes just one light in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough to make us face how fragile life really is. Of course, science has another take. Some researchers call this a rare natural plasma, often known as ball lightning, which can form near railroads because of strong electric fields and metal conductors. But even the experts admit, this phenomenon hasn't been reliably recreated in a lab, and the way it moves like it has a purpose is still a big question mark. On one side is an incomplete physical model, and on the other is the feeling that this thing carries a message. Which explanation do you buy? Daylight doesn't hide what's out of place, and that light didn't show up to guide the way, but to remind us. When even a small glowing spot can unsettle people so much, what will happen when lava from a volcano hits flowing water? If molten rock meets a river, will the line between earth and hell hold anymore? 9. A river of molten lava flowing over the surface of a stream. The glowing red lava suddenly poured down, rushing straight into the deep blue water like an unexpected burst of fury. In just a moment, the ground shook. The heat hit like a wall you couldn't breathe through, and anyone watching saw a fierce sight they weren't ready for. Fire and water crashed together, like two opposite forces starting a final showdown. At Hawaii Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island, the lava flow from Kilauea's vent stretched for miles, winding through wetlands before dumping right into the riverbed. Steam shot up in huge columns, white and swirling, with cracking sounds like thousands of rocks breaking. The whole scene was overwhelming, water boiling hard, white foam splashing everywhere, and the lava glowing dark red like blood running. Everything happened fast and intense, not giving anyone a chance to catch their breath. You feel scared and stunned all at once, like nature is shouting a warning you can't ignore. What would you think if you saw fire swallowing water like that, with the water just hissing in despair? In the middle of it all, the Bible comes to mind like an old warning. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." The images of fire, smoke, and fierce heat right there make many folks shiver. as if that prophecy is coming alive today. It doesn't stop there. Matthew 24:7 goes on like an urgent alarm. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Fire rising from deep in the earth, water getting stirred up. It all mixes into a chaotic picture that makes you wonder, is this just chance? Scientists and geologists from the USGS explain it's normal volcano activity. When lava meets water, it creates a steam plume, a physical process seen many times before. But for a lot of people, the mix of river and fire, life and destruction, carries a deeper meaning than science can fully explain. Because no matter what you call it, that sight still reminds us of the awful power of creation and how fragile we are against fire from deep underground. It might be a warning that hellfire isn't just a metaphor. It could burst out right in front of humanity one day. And as the steam column slowly fades over the Hawaiian sky, people notice the clouds twisting like a giant cocoon. Could that be the final sign from above, hinting at something even more terrifying waiting ahead? 10. A cloud with a strange, twisted shape that looks like a rocky outcrop. That cloud showed up quietly. No thunder, no lightning, no noise at all. It just hung there in the sky over the Rocky Mountains, twisted together like a living rock formation. So still, it was almost scary. When the video got shared, a lot of folks stopped and stared at it for a long time. How about you? Do you feel like something's being warned about? In the frame, the pale blue sky is cut across by a big, pale golden cloud, rolled up tight like a giant silkworm cocoon. It didn't break apart, didn't drift, didn't get torn by the wind like regular clouds do. For hours, that shape barely moved, making people feel like time itself was slowing down, as if nature was holding on to some sacred secret it wasn't ready to let go of yet. When you fast forward the video, the cloud's odd shape stands out even more, the layers twisting over each other like they were placed on purpose. The slanting sunlight made it glow pale gold, beautiful but cold, like a statue hanging in the sky. Plenty of people said it felt like standing in front of a gate where the line between heaven and earth got real thin. In that moment, the Bible comes to mind like a final judgment. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The cloud didn't have to destroy anything. Just being there was enough to stir unease in people's hearts, just like the verse warned. Then Revelation 8:12 gets brought up again, cold and final. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. The soft light shining on that cloud suddenly didn't feel beautiful anymore. It felt like something covering the light, like brightness slowly being taken away. Of course, the weather experts were quick to explain it. They said it was just a lenticular cloud or mammatus cloud, formed when strong winds blow over the mountains and create stable, unusual cloud structures. To science, it's rare, but perfectly natural. But the question remains, why did that shape last so long? And why did it appear right when the world feels so unsettled? On one side, there's science with its wind patterns and pressure systems. On the other side, there's the Bible with warnings that have been around for thousands of years. Which way do you lean? Is it just a cloud or a sign placed there to wake up faith that's been sleeping? For me, that cloud didn't need to tear the sky apart to be an end-time sign. Just standing there, quiet and still, was enough to remind us that the day the Lord returns won't be loud like people expect. And if these 10 signs really are coming together to form a complete picture, then the final question isn't what's going to happen, but are we ready or not? These 10 events haven't just passed by us like random news stories. They've come like warning bells ringing from the sky. From fires swallowing up floods, ice spreading over land, strange lights in the air, to clouds standing still as if held by an invisible hand. All of it adds up to one clear, chilling chain of warnings. It's no longer about asking if it's just coincidence. It's about what we're going to do in the face of these signs. When you look at the whole picture, it's hard not to think of the words written in Luke 21:28. When these things begin to happen, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. These signs aren't just meant to scare us. They're meant to wake us up. They're like lights in the dark night, shining on people's souls that have fallen asleep in a world full of noise but empty when it comes to faith. Some folks say it's only natural disasters, climate change, things science can explain. But the Bible never denied the natural world. On the contrary, in Joel 2:31, the warning rings out clear. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and awesome day of the Lord comes. The issue isn't what these events are, it's the timing and how often they're happening all at once, like words being written fast across the sky. Those 10 signs are like 10 fingers pointing in the same direction. They're not just about judgment, they're about one last chance to turn back. Revelation 3:3 reminds us, "Remember then what you received and heard, keep it and repent." This isn't a threat, it's an urgent call from one who's still patiently waiting for people to wake up. The world today is shaking, not just from earthquakes or wars, but because the foundations of right and wrong are cracking. Faith is being pushed aside, and truth is hidden under hurried living. The end times might not have knocked yet, but it's clearly standing very close. Close enough that everyone has to ask themselves, if today was the last day, am I ready? If these words touch you, leave a prayer down below, or a sincere thought from your heart. It's not for the channel, it's for your own soul. And if you don't want to miss the next messages, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, so we can stay alert together in these troubling days. Thanks for sticking around to the very end. I pray for you and your family to have peace, protection, and guidance in the light of the Lord. The world is shaking, and the end times are closer than ever. Are you ready? Have you ever wondered, if everything falls apart tomorrow, would we even notice the signs today? America, the land of skyscrapers and endless highways, is shaking. Natural disasters are hitting like invisible blades, tearing things apart, flipping them over, sweeping away everything we've proudly built. This isn't just cold coincidence anymore. It feels like an urgent whisper from above, coming faster and harder, warning that humanity is sliding quickly toward the final edge. From tornadoes ripping through homes in Illinois and Missouri, fierce winds flipping cars on bridges, lightning sparking fires in California, to floods swallowing vehicles in Oxford, Mississippi, massive swirling flocks of birds over Oklahoma skies, waterfalls turning into rainbows, shopping malls drowned in muddy water. 10 events, like 10 dark puzzle pieces, stretching from the Midwest to the West Coast, fitting together into a picture that makes it feel like time is running out. Do you think this is just news, or a wake-up call meant for us? If all these signs are showing up at once, the question is, how much time do we have left? Let's keep going, because these terrifying pieces are only just starting to come into view. And you won't have to wait long, because right below here we're going to start with 1. Full view of the tornado in a parking lot, homes torn to pieces. The video starts without any warning. In just the first few seconds, a normal parking lot in Mount Zion, Illinois, changes completely. That moment makes you hold your breath, like you're right in the middle of the storm. No one screams, no one has time to run. There's just the roar of the wind and that chilling feeling when you realize things we think are solid can vanish in an instant. You're watching it all through the shaky frames. The tornado doesn't come slowly. It hits like a bolt from the blue, ripping sturdy homes into hundreds of pieces, tossing cars around like toys. sweeping away metal roofs, power poles, and signs. The quiet parking lot from a minute ago turns into a battlefield, with debris flying everywhere, spinning in the air like invisible blades. The video doesn't need any narration. The pictures alone show how helpless people are against nature's power. Weather reports from the Midwest say tornadoes in Illinois and Missouri can reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour, flattening thousands of square feet in a flash. This extreme weather system isn't isolated. It stretches from Missouri to Kentucky, creating a chain of destruction. Looking at the video, it's not just one spot wrecked. You see a whole region being tested, like something bigger is at work behind those wild winds. When you put this scene next to the words in Matthew 24:7-8, the Bible seems to whisper a chilling hint. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. The chaos in the video isn't called the end of the world, but it feels like the first knock on the door, warning that something more serious is getting closer. Of course, some people say this is just the result of climate change, the natural outcome of mistakes we've made to the environment. That explanation sounds reasonable. But when fierce tornadoes keep coming, one after another, with worse damage each time, viewers start to wonder, is this just plain science? Or is it a deeper reminder, like the warnings in the Bible? Luke 21:11 adds to the picture by talking about great earthquakes and fearful events and great signs from heaven. The Mount Zion video doesn't claim to be a miracle, but it leaves viewers with a hard-to-name unease, like we're being shown a sign, not just a random disaster. As the final frames fade, rubble stretches for miles, with no clear lines left between homes, roads, and parking lots. The feeling that lingers isn't just fear, it's the realization that America, the symbol of strength and control, can be shaken in a moment. And if one tornado can tear apart a whole neighborhood like that, what will happen when that power doesn't stop at wood and concrete, but starts hurling metal and steel into the sky? 2. Tornado tosses construction site metal sheets around. No warning siren, no sign it was coming. In just a quick moment, video from a construction site in Stamford, Texas, catches folks off guard as huge metal sheets suddenly lift off the ground, floating in the air like some invisible hand picked them up. The first feeling isn't fear, it's shock, because that sight goes against everything we know about wind and gravity. The tornado didn't roar loud like in the movies. It came quiet, then suddenly picked up speed, lifting those heavy metal pieces, tons of them, off the site, spinning them around and hurling them dozens of yards away like spears. Wind whistling through the air, metal clanging against metal. It made for a tense scene that takes your breath away, where the line between safe and dead is just a few seconds. According to reports from Service Steel and the National Weather Service, areas in Texas and Oklahoma often get tornadoes that hit 200 miles per hour. In those conditions, metal pieces from barns, buildings, or construction sites can get thrown up to 75 yards, turning into deadly flying bullets for workers and anyone nearby. Watching the video, we don't just see things getting swept away. We feel how fragile people are against a power that's invisible, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Safety experts keep warning that metal caught in the wind is one of the deadliest dangers in a tornado, because it flies fast, it's heavy, and there's no set path. Even a small piece can punch through walls, glass, or even a person's body. When you watch those images, the feeling isn't just curiosity anymore, it's a quiet unease, like any of us could be right there at the wrong time. Putting this scene next to the warning in Revelation 16:21, the Bible seems to ring like a bell, and huge hailstones, about the weight of a talent each, came down from heaven on people, and people cursed God because of the plague of the hail, since its plague was extremely severe. Metal isn't hail, but when it falls from high up with terrible wind force, it carries the same meaning, objects dropping from the sky, beyond human control. Luke 21:25 goes on with that warning picture, talking about signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, distress among nations in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. What happened at that Texas site might be called extreme weather, but the confusion and worry it puts in viewers' hearts feels very real, very close, and hard to ignore. Some say it's just a dangerous coincidence of nature, the result of harsher climate these days. But when those metal sheets get lifted and thrown with scary accuracy, a quiet question comes up. Is it all random, or a warning sent in the language of wind? In that light, the message gets clearer than ever. God is using this invisible power to remind folks to stay alert. And if wind can turn a construction site into a battlefield in just seconds, what'll happen when it hits high bridges, where heavy trucks weighing dozens of tons become like toys in front of the fierce storm waiting ahead? 3. Trucks blown over on the highway bridge. Traffic was moving along just fine when everything suddenly went haywire. On a highway bridge in Wyoming, the wind started howling like a siren, and in just a few seconds, those big semi-trucks weighing tons got tipped sideways and crashed down onto the road. The interstate turned into a total mess, with horns blaring over each other and metal screeching in the chaos. Can you even imagine that helpless feeling when a gust of wind can stop traffic cold and change people's lives in an instant? According to AccuWeather and Fox News, bridges like the ones in Wyoming or the Richmond-San Rafael in California are known hotspots for strong winds. But this time, the gusts hit up to 83 miles per hour, strong enough to flip over long trucks and cause backups for miles. Dozens of vehicles got stuck, drivers couldn't move forward or back, and they just had to sit there, scared, waiting it out. In the video that was recorded, it all happens so fast, it's breathtaking. A container truck leans way over to one side, wheels lifting off the pavement, with the sound of metal crashing echoing everywhere. People seem so small and powerless against that roaring wind, like some invisible force is testing how much they can take. Psalm 107-25 comes to mind as a familiar reminder. For he commandeth, and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. The Bible doesn't get into the technical details, but it points to something deeper. There are powers beyond what humans can control, forces that science can measure, but not tame. The damage added up quick. Lots of trucks badly wrecked, traffic shut down for hours, the economy disrupted, and if things had dragged on just a bit longer, the harm to people could have been a whole lot worse. In that moment, the everyday order of modern life, roads, engines, schedules, suddenly felt awfully fragile. Matthew 24-29 paints an even bigger picture. The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. It's not meant as blame, but as a gentle nudge. When things get shaken up like this, it makes us stop and think about what we really put our trust in. Of course, folks started arguing right away. Some say the bridge design isn't good enough, or the wind warnings weren't strong enough. But if it's just about engineering, why do these unusual, intense winds keep hitting key routes like this? What do you think? Is it simply human error, or something bigger trying to get our attention? This event drives home a hard truth. We're more fragile than we like to admit when facing nature or some unseen power. And when wind can toss trucks around like toys, the question isn't just when will they fix the bridge, but are we ready? Because from these fierce gusts, sometimes all it takes is one flash of lightning, and everything moves into a whole new chapter. 4. Lightning sparks fire in the storm. A flash of light ripped across the sky, and then flames shot up right in front of someone's eyes. In California, a resident was filming a big dark storm rolling in when lightning suddenly hit, sending sparks flying everywhere and scaring them enough to rush back inside the house. No warning siren, no time to get ready, just one quick moment, and the line between safety and disaster was gone. The storm didn't come in easy. Clouds hung low, wind howled in gusts, and thunder boomed like cannon fire. Lightning struck the ground. Sparks scattered all over. Smoke got blown back up into the air, leaving the whole area in a state of terror. What would you do if you were facing fire from the sky like that, knowing that just a second too slow could end everything? According to CalMatters and SF Gate, California saw more than 4,500 lightning strikes in recent storms, with many directly starting wildfires that burned thousands of acres on the West Coast. Those dry forests turn into perfect fuel, and each bolt isn't just a flash anymore. It's the start of a spreading disaster. Ezekiel 13:13 comes across as a strong warning. In my wrath I will unleash a violent wind, and in my anger hailstones and torrents of rain will fall with destructive fury. The words from the Bible don't feel like some distant metaphor anymore. They sound like a direct call-out. When storms and fire from heaven pour down together, it's not just weather. It's revealing the consequences of a world that's gone too far. Things kept getting worse. Flames caught on the trees, smoke covered the sky, wind carried ashes miles away. What started with one single bolt quickly turned into a chain reaction where people could only run and had no way to stop it. Luke 21:11 makes it even heavier. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. This isn't meant to comfort. It's a stark judgment. Those signs from the sky aren't there to spark curiosity, but to make humanity face its own accountability. Of course, arguments broke out right away. Science talks about electrical charges, atmospheric friction, harsh weather cycles. But when lightning strikes keep surging, when fire from the sky keeps leading to wildfires and panic, is it all just random? What do you think? Is this a natural coincidence or a direct challenge to the way people live and the choices they make? The final message rings out like an alarm bell. Lightning doesn't just burn trees. It's like God's finger pointing straight at human sin and pride. And if fire from above is enough to scare a whole state, just think, what'll happen when the endless rains come pouring down afterward? Because somewhere out there, in the mud and floods, a stray dog is struggling to survive, setting up a story that's even more heartbreaking. 5. A stray dog hides under a statue of Jesus to escape disaster. In the steady drizzle at a small church in Orlando, Florida, the scene was quiet and peaceful in a strange way. Under the statue of Jesus standing still in the yard, a skinny stray dog quietly slipped into the base, curled up, and went to sleep. In that moment, we didn't just see an animal avoiding the rain. It was a picture that touched the heart, made it soften, like something truly sacred was happening. The rain wasn't heavy, but it kept coming. The wind was cold, and the dog was shivering from being soaked. It didn't bark or run around. It just quietly nestled under the shadow of the stone statue, the only dry and calm spot. It felt like the dog had picked the right place, as if instinct guided it to somewhere that could offer a bit of warmth in a troubled world out there. During big storms, many wild animals seek shelter near churches, monasteries, or religious buildings. To some folks, that's just coincidence, but others see it as a quiet symbol of protection, a place of refuge beyond the material things. The image of the dog lying under the statue of Jesus brings to mind Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Those Bible words seem to explain that moment, that in times of hardship, every living creature seeks a safe place, whether human or a small, speechless animal. The scene kept unfolding slowly. The rain still fell. The statue stood motionless, and the dog slept deeper, its breathing steady. No dramatic miracle, no blinding light, just a gentle, real peace that moved anyone who saw it. A strange warmth spread from that silence. Of course, people argue about it. Some say it's just instinct, a dog finding shelter like anywhere else. But others wonder, if it was just about avoiding rain, why did it choose right under the statue of Jesus when there were other dry spots around? What do you think? Is it random or a subtle sign we often miss? Matthew 6:26 comes to mind as a gentle reminder. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. If God cares for the birds of the sky, then the protection for a stray dog is probably part of that same love. In the end, this picture leaves a quiet but deep message. God watches over even the smallest creatures, reminding us that faith isn't just in words, but in turning back, in finding refuge when needed. And when that stray dog found shelter under the statue of Jesus, it makes you wonder, what about us? Because somewhere else, over the skies of Oklahoma, a huge flock of birds is gathering in an unusual way, as if they know something coming that people haven't noticed yet. 6. A massive flock of birds forms over Oklahoma under a chemtrailed sky. The sky over Oklahoma suddenly looked different. No thunder, no rain, but a strange feeling spread as tiny black dots started moving, then merged into a huge flowing mass up above. A flock of birds showed up out of nowhere, swirling like a living thing, making folks who saw it feel like nature was whispering something urgent, something hard to put into words. In just minutes, the sky was covered by millions of them. Migrating flocks joined into one unusually big group, stretching for miles, wings beating hard like crashing waves. They say up to 2.9 million birds flew through at the same time, way more than a normal migration season. The air felt heavy, light got chopped up, and there we were down below, suddenly realizing how small we are compared to some invisible order working overhead. Experts say it's a seasonal migration thing, tied to air pressure, high-altitude winds, and signs of extreme weather coming. Birds can sense changes in Earth's magnetic field and spot big storms before our gadgets do. But even with those scientific explanations, the uneasy feeling doesn't go away, because the size and timing of this flock seem to go beyond any patterns we've known before. Right then, the Bible comes to mind more as a hint than a final answer. In Matthew 24-28, it says, "Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather." Not talking about birds in a biology way, but as a picture for gathering before a big event, when the old order is about to be exposed. And in Luke 21:25, the warning goes on. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. Signs in the sky. Could this be one of them? A lot of people push back, saying linking the Bible to a natural event is just reading too much into it. Birds have been migrating for thousands of years, and the sky has been blocked like this before. But if it's just a natural cycle, why are these things happening more often now, at the same time as disasters, storms, fires from the sky, and chaos everywhere? Do you think it's just coincidence, or a pattern repeating, just like what's been warned about for so long? As the flock slowly faded toward the horizon, the sky got quiet again in a suspicious way. But that quiet didn't bring peace. It felt like the pause before a new chapter. If animals can sense and react to what's coming, what are we humans, with our reason and faith, doing about it? And if the sky has already spoken with millions of wings, what message is that upcoming rainbow cascade in Yosemite going to hide next? 7. The waterfall suddenly turns into a rainbow at Yosemite National Park. The sky over Yosemite opens up with a moment that leaves you speechless. Between the huge rock walls and the waterfall dropping from over 2,400 feet, the sunlight suddenly bends the water into a giant rainbow hanging in the air. Standing there in front of it, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed, like nature just lifted a secret curtain to remind us there are still things way beyond what we can figure out or explain. The water sprays up hard from strong winds, and every tiny drop turns into a little prism, breaking the sunlight into bright bands of color. The whole place feels like it's covered in something magical, gentle yet solemn at the same time. A lot of folks just stand there quietly, not saying a word, because that kind of beauty doesn't just look good. It stirs up a deep, holy feeling that's tough to put into words, almost like a message coming down from above. In the Bible, a rainbow has never been just some weather thing. Genesis 9:13 has God saying, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." It's a mark of his promise of protection after the flood. Then in Revelation 10:1, it shows up again. "Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven. He was robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head." So the rainbow stands for grace and also a sign of big revelations to come. Scientists explain it with optics. Winds around 50 miles an hour blow the waterfall mist up into the air, and sunlight hits it at just the right angle to make a rainbow. It's a perfect mix of water, wind, and light, a precise thing nature does. But when you put that explanation next to how the Bible sees the rainbow as a sign of covenant and something from heaven, the two views split into very different paths. One side says it's just physics, pretty, but meaningless. The other sees the timing of this beauty as no accident, especially when the world is full of disasters, storms, and chaos. If it's only natural, why does it keep showing up right in the middle of all these troubling signs? And if it's a reminder from God, are we taking it as comfort or as a warning? The rainbow over the Yosemite waterfall brings hope, but it also leaves you with some uneasy thoughts. It reminds us God promised to protect, but it doesn't hide the warnings he's given long ago. This beauty doesn't wipe away the darkness that's coming. It lights things up so we can take a good look at ourselves. As the rainbow fades with the wind, the waterfall goes back to roaring like before. And if we can watch something so breathtaking and still miss the message behind it, what will happen when nature isn't so gentle anymore? Because right after this beauty, a car getting swept away by floodwaters shows the harsh side of these signs we can't ignore. 8. The car that ignored the floodwaters and got swept away. It all started with a familiar kind of overconfidence on a stretch of highway in Sonoma County. The rain had just stopped. The floodwater was only up to the wheels, and the driver figured they still had things under control. We've seen that moment way too many times. A short pause, a step on the gas, and the thought that, "I'll be fine." But that little bit of confidence can lead to real tragedy. In a split second, the water changed color and picked up speed. Muddy runoff from upstream suddenly rose higher, pressed against the car, and yanked it hard like an invisible hand. The vehicle swayed. The tires lost traction. The engine roared one last time before it died. That heavy chunk of metal, tons of it, got pushed along like a dry leaf, spinning sideways, banging into barriers, then vanishing into the rushing current. This is the kind of thing that should make every one of us stop and think. Natural disasters don't bargain, and floodwater is never as harmless as it looks. Scenes like this keep happening in different places, even with all the warning signs we're used to seeing. Some folks say the accident was just the driver being careless, misjudging how deep the water was. But the debate heats up when witnesses insist the water level shot up unusually fast in just a few dozen seconds, too quick to react. So is the blame all on people? Or is there something bigger at play that we can't fully predict? The Bible comes in here not to comfort, but as a straightforward call-out on human pride. In Psalm 69-15, there's this cry for help. "Do not let the floodwaters engulf me, or the depths swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me." It's not just a plea. It's a picture of what it's like facing power we can't control. And in Luke 21:11, the warning goes on. There will be great earthquakes and fearful events. Floods aren't just weather anymore. They're a reminder of how fragile our pride really is. The car disappeared under the water, leaving behind an empty, chilling space and some late regrets. This wasn't just a traffic mishap. It was a serious wake-up call that God has warned us, nature has warned us, but people still choose to ignore it. And if one lone car got swallowed up that easily, then when the massive flood hits Oxford, what else will that water monster carry away? 9. Close-up view of the rushing floodwaters in Oxford, America. Oxford, Mississippi, is going through a heavy, breathless moment. It's no longer just puddles along the roadside. The flood comes like a powerful force waking up, muddy and cold, rushing over the pavement so fast you barely have time to think. Right from the start, it's not panic you feel, but a quiet pressure, like something more serious is happening right in front of you. The water starts roaring as it rises minute by minute. Trees get uprooted, trash and debris swirl around, crashing into each other in a fierce current. Familiar roads turn into angry rivers, with white foam slamming against the curbs, the signs, everything still standing. Watching it, you quickly realize that one wrong step could lead to something you can't undo. In the middle of all that chaos, the Bible rings out like a calm but stern judgment, not pointing fingers at any one person, but looking at a whole system that's starting to shake. In Amos 9-5, it says, "The Lord God of hosts is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn, and it shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned, as by the flood of Egypt." The picture of the land melting and water rising isn't just poetry, it's exactly what's playing out here. And in Luke 21:25, the warning goes on. "And upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." This flood isn't just some isolated event, it's part of a bigger picture. Some say it's all from days of heavy rain and overloaded drainage systems. But when you see the strength of the flow, how fast the water rises, and how deep it gets, questions come up. Are the weather reports enough to explain this widespread uneasy feeling? You can call it extreme weather, but that sense of being out of control is very real and very clear. The damage reports keep climbing fast. Many roads are underwater several feet deep. Vehicles get stuck. Neighborhoods have to evacuate right away. Local authorities send out constant alerts, telling folks to stay away from fast-moving water and get ready for the worst if the levees can't hold. Those calls aren't over the top. They're a direct response to a threat that's building every minute. The water keeps rushing through Oxford, not caring about houses or streets, reminding us that this kind of power isn't something you can bargain with. It's a clear warning. When nature goes beyond its limits, people are left with a choice between staying alert or paying the price. And if a flood outside is already pushing the whole town to its limit, then when water pours into the shopping mall, places we thought were safe, what will we have left to hold on to? 10. Heavy flooding at the shopping mall. The King of Prussia Mall in Pennsylvania suddenly turned into a shocking sight. Muddy water poured through the entrances, spreading fast over the shiny tile floors that used to sparkle, turning the busy shopping center into a cold, muddy mess. In the middle of all that shock, a natural question comes up. When places we thought were symbols of safety and plenty fall apart, what do we have left to hold on to? The water rose waist-high, escalators were completely underwater, and glass doors reflected blurry emergency lights. Rescue teams waded through the wrecked stores, helping people out one by one amid the constant sound of rushing water. In some spots, hundreds of folks got trapped at the same time, and hundreds of lives were saved during those tense hours. Lives were spared, but the feeling of loss hung over everything. The damage was quickly added up. Big malls like King of Prussia and Elkview got hit hard with deep flooding, shutting down completely, ruining merchandise and breaking infrastructure. Over 500 people had to be evacuated in a hurry, and many nearby areas felt the ripple effects from wave after wave of floods. Those numbers aren't just about money. They're about how fragile the things we've worked so hard to build really are. In that picture, the Bible shows up like a final judgment, calm and straightforward. In Revelation 16:18, it says, "There were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as there had not been since man was on the earth." So great was that earthquake. These images of total shaking aren't just about the ground. They're about the foundations of our material world getting shaken to the core. Not long after, another warning rings out in Matthew 24:7-8. "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. When shopping grinds to a halt and supply chains break, these birth pains aren't abstract anymore. They're right in the middle of everyday life. Of course, there's plenty of debate about the causes. Some say heavy urbanization, all that concrete, and overloaded drainage systems are the root of the problem. Others look at how widespread it is across the country and wonder about a deeper meaning behind this string of events. No need to pick sides. The thing we're thinking about is, what do you see when similar things keep happening in different places? In the end, when shopping malls, those symbols of buying and comfort, end up underwater, a quiet message comes through. The material world, no matter how solid it seems, can fall apart in an instant. And if this is just the beginning, the question isn't what's going to happen next, but are you ready for whatever comes after? So we've just gone through 10 events showing that America is more chaotic than we thought. Which moment made you realize that the clearest? Feel free to share your answer in the comments below. 10 events have passed by like 10 deep marks carved into the land of America. From the freezing cold in Illinois to the floods in California. From roads torn apart to shopping centers sunk in muddy water. When you put them side by side, they're no longer just scattered news stories. They form one clear picture where nature keeps shaking things as if it's knocking hard on humanity's last door. These marks don't shout loudly, but they're deep enough to make folks stop and think. Some people call it coincidence, weather cycles, or the result of climate change. But others see a different message, one that's quiet but serious. In Amos 3-6, the Bible asks, "When the trumpet sounds in a city, do the people not tremble? When disaster comes to a city, has not the Lord caused it?" Those words aren't meant to scare anyone. They're there to make us ask ourselves about the connection between what we do and what's happening around us. From that point of view, natural disasters aren't just random events anymore. They become a call to turn back to God, a reminder that human power has limits and everything we build can crumble so easily. Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." Right in the middle of the warning, there's still a ray of hope. Waking up isn't about despair, it's about turning around. What's asked of us isn't panic, it's staying alert. Alert enough to listen, to think carefully, and not to brush off signs that keep coming back stronger. Matthew 24-42 reminds us, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." The deep pit, if it's opening, isn't just in nature. It's also inside people's hearts, where faith has been forgotten for too long. If these recent events have left you wondering, let that wondering turn into a prayer or an honest thought. Feel free to write in the comments below what you're feeling, a request for help from above, or just a question that doesn't have an answer yet. That's one way to not stay silent about what's going on, and to keep your heart from growing hard toward the warnings. If you think these messages are worth thinking about, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Every share can be a gentle reminder for someone else, and every subscription is a small step towards staying awake together. Thank you for listening all the way to the end, and may the Lord keep and guide you through these unsettled days. Amen.